Սիրելի պայգամներ, այսօրվա մեր հյուրն է Ջոն Հարաբեդյանը, որ State Assembly candidate է եւ հայտնի անձնավորություն մնահատկապես Pasadena եւ Sierra Madre-ի մեջ։ Բարի եկած եք. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Let's start some background information. You know, we usually do our interviews in Armenian, but we can go either languages, which is fine with me. Let's go through your background. Who are you? Why you want to run for public office in this district?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor. My family came to this country in 1907 from Armenia. They came here. My grandfather, great-grandfather Tatos, started picking up garbage. It was one of the first garbage collectors in LA County. Started a very good lineage. My grandfather, my dad, worked in the rubbish industry. And I was born and raised in Sierra Madre. It's a small community by Pasadena. And it was a great community, still is. And I served as mayor and city council member there for 8 years. My wife and I now have 3 young sons, 9, 5, and 2. And I'm running for the state assembly because I believe in the American dream. I believe in that same dream that brought my great-grandparents here. And I believe that that dream is harder to obtain here in California now.
Why is that? This is a great state, a lot of resources, good population, amazing weather. Why would the state be not good, let's say?
I think economic stability here has been tested. I think people at every level of socioeconomics feels like they are insecure. Housing costs have become more expensive. Price of gas and fuel and goods have become more expensive. It's harder to pay rent. It's harder to pay for healthcare. And I think people feel like, at this point, their return on their investment living here in California isn't as good as it was a generation or 2 generations ago.
You think they will leave?
I think people are leaving. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are leaving. And they're leaving not because they don't want to live in California. This is the best country. This is the best country in the world, and this is the best state in that country. We have the best beaches, the best mountains, the best resources. We have the smartest people. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. But frankly, people aren't going to stay in a state when they feel like public safety isn't being prioritized, when they feel like they can't afford to live here. And frankly, when they see the results on a number of different metrics, whether it's public education, whether it's our transportation system, people want results. And I think right now people don't think that we're getting good enough results, and they want better. And they want a government that is more responsive, and they also want to be able to be small business owners without having government intrude in that as well. So I think that's very important.
Are you running as a Democrat?
I'm running as a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and this is a seat that is strongly Democratic, 20% advantage.
Right. Who are you running against?
I'm running against 3 other candidates, great people, and they are, they come from different backgrounds. I'm the only Armenian candidate in the race. I'm the only one who has not only been born and raised in the district, but also been an elected official for 8 years. And I'm someone with private sector experience and also public sector experience. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah. Both experiences.
I'm a lawyer. I've worked at law firms. I now run my own law firm. I was a former prosecutor in the LA County DA's office, so I was a district attorney, so I know about public safety. And also, I'm the president of the California State Acupuncture Board. So I know how government works. I know how business works. And I think we need that balance in the state legislature, people with actual experience.
Have you done any public opinion polls?
I will say this, there have been polls that have been done, yes.
How are you doing?
I feel very good. We feel very good about what the polls show us.
Have you approached any Armenian organizations to support you?
Absolutely.
Are they supporting you?
Yes.
Okay. You have endorsement from?
Absolutely. The
like ANC,
the
Assembly?
ANCA, the Armenian Rights Council. Very, very proud to have the support of people like Councilmember Artie Kasakian, State Senator Anthony Portantino, who has represented this district for a very long time, has endorsed me. And look, I think there are a lot of people in our community, they want to see our people at every level of government, not only federal, but state. Right now, the Armenian community has given so much to the state of California, and we don't have any elected officials in the state assembly or the state senate that are Armenian. And I think that's really a tragic outcome.
Why is that the case? Why is Armenians are not running for public office?
I think that we have to figure out how our community can better coalesce around ourselves to get us elected to these seats. And I don't think historically we've done a good job of actually coming together and getting behind candidates. And I think that the way to do this is, one, make sure that our youth is actually encouraged to get involved with public service. We want people elected at every level of government, school boards, city councils, water boards, so that they can rise in the ranks and come and actually run for the state legislature like I'm doing now, and then go to Congress, go statewide. I mean, it was the 1980s when we had a governor who was Armenian, George
Exactly.
Tukmajian.
George Tukmajian was the governor.
And it's amazing that now we don't have any elected officials in Sacramento. And so what I think that the Armenian community can do better, and what we can all do better, is let's support each other, but let's also teach and make sure we are bringing people from every walk of life to know that government service is something that people should be doing and encouraged to do. I think a lot of times in our community, a lot of people don't want to get involved with government. They don't think it works. They don't think it's a good use of their time. And I think we need to change that perception.
Because the perception always been, go into business as an Armenian
That's
American, or, go take a law degree or be a physician or a dentist and make sure your family is well taken care of, as opposed to go into politics.
That's right.
Traditionally, and plus Armenians as immigrants, they came from different countries like Soviet Union or Middle East, where politics was not the best. So maybe that's part of the reason why people don't run for public office.
Well, I think you're right, Mike. When I ran for city council in 2012, as a very young man, my parents said, why? Why are you doing this?
Exactly. Why would you do that? Yeah.
And I think that the answer to that, and the answer needs to be more prevalent for more of us in our community, is because we need good people. We need people that come from our community, that know our issues, that know what everyone is facing, and we need those people to lead and to get results. And I think that a lot of us have to put ourselves aside and put the community first, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm really trying to make sure that that next generation, my kids, who will, in very, very few amount of years, they're going to be doing what we're trying to do. Survive, provide. They need opportunity to do that, and I think more of us need to get involved with government to help that.
Sure. What is your platform? I mean, what are you trying to accomplish in Assembly?
First and foremost, economic opportunity. I think that California was built on economic opportunity, economic freedom, and an ability to come to this country, come to this state, and actually prosper. Provide for your family, build a business, work in government, whatever you want to do, but you can provide for yourself and do better than the generation before you and hopefully the generation after you. Secondly, I want to work with federal officials on every level to make sure that our people are being protected in Artsakh, in Armenia, to make sure that on a grander scale, the Armenian people are being represented. I think right now, our State Department, our federal government is not doing enough, and I think the more that we have in terms of leadership in the state of California, the most powerful state in the union, that will help not only our federal government, but it will help Armenia and Artsakh. And then thirdly, I think we need quality of life. I think we need to make sure that our families are taken care of. I think we need to make sure that we can prosper, our business owners are supported, but that all of us feel safe. Safety is number one. If we don't feel safe in our homes, if we don't feel safe on the street, if we don't feel safe on the subway, then nothing else is important. And so those are the main things that I'm focused on, and I have experience in all of those things to deliver on those.
So from overall perspective, if you decide, would you run for Assembly, maybe Congress, because some of these are federal issues, or maybe you have higher aspiration for office? From what I'm gathering from your talk is just you have this aspiration to do better or more than just Assembly, from what I could tell.
I'm focused on the state of California. And I think
that's your focus.
That's my focus. And I think that this is a state that my family has been now for 3 generations. It's a state that has provided so much for me. And it's a state that I want to provide more for that next generation. And frankly, for the people right now that are really struggling. I think that you can have more impact as a state assembly member in the legislature here in California than anywhere else in the world if you want to actually deliver on a lot of these issues. So my focus is really on winning this race, getting into the state assembly, and doing good work, and hoping that people over the next 12 years when I'm in the assembly actually see a better quality of life. They actually see government working better, and it's a little bit easier to live here. Rent becomes a little bit easier to pay. Wages become a little bit higher. Our groceries, our goods, our gas prices become a little bit more fair compared to the rest of the country.
But how are you going to do that? What are you going to make? Gas companies to lower their prices? Just because somebody from Assembly said that, they're not going to reduce their gas prices, wholesale prices.
Well, I think what we need to do is stabilize the market, one, on the gas prices. But when it comes to other things like housing, I think we are facing a pretty simple supply and demand problem. I think we need to be able to build more housing so that people can actually afford to buy and to rent. Right now, California is not a very easy place to build anything.
It's expensive.
It's very expensive. The land price is very expensive, but there's also a lot of bureaucracy and regulation that makes it very difficult to build. And I think what you've seen over the last 2 generations is we haven't built the amount of housing that people need. So one really easy thing that we need to do is make sure that we can make it easier for people who want to build affordable housing to do it, plain and simple.
So maybe better regulations or easier regulations. I mean, if you try to get, I mean, I have a house in Glendale, try to get anything from the city, it takes like forever.
That's right. I think we need more efficiency. To your point, a couple of things. I think good policy is economics.
Right.
I think the economics need to work out. Right now, interest rates are very high.
That's another point, that interest rates are, over 7% if you're going to get a new mortgage.
So I think the state of California needs to do better to give low interest or zero interest loans to anyone willing to build affordable housing, willing to bring housing online into the system. I think that's one big thing. Secondly, to your point on regulation, we need to be better at getting projects through the system quicker. Local zoning departments in any city are inundated and they don't move fast enough. We need to empower them with technology, with better tools to actually do that. So I think if you can cut the red tape and make the economics work, I think you can build more housing. So I think that state assembly members and state legislators generally can work with the governor to make sure that over these next few years we do things to actually help. I think in your community, our community, everywhere that you see, homelessness is getting worse. People aren't getting the care that they need. And I think it's really tragic. And I think that you need people in there that are going to be very, very attuned to that and very motivated to get some results.
What would you do in the assembly if you're given the opportunity to be in the assembly? What would you do about the homelessness, which is a major crisis in the city of LA and in California?
Well, I think that we need to get people help. Beyond housing, and everyone wants to talk about housing, a very, very important issue, people need mental health care. People are on the street lots of times because they have suffered some sort of mental illness, or they have been in the criminal justice system, or they are a veteran coming back from war, and they need help. And they're suffering, and right now we don't have a system that actually takes care of our people. And so as an assembly person, what I want to do is actually devote massive amounts of resources to getting people the respective care that they deserve. And I think a lot of people who find themselves in homelessness really need treatment. And they need treatment for drug addiction, they need treatment for other types of mental illness. And I think that we as a state need to figure out very, very quickly, how do we get all these people the help that they need? And that's what I'm going to be focused on.
How are you doing raising money? Because I know you mentioned 700,000. I don't know, it was privately.
That's right,
you told me. I think you told me that. But how are you going, grassroots, so to speak, going knocking every door saying, hey, give me a contribution, or where are you getting the money?
We're raising money from our friends, our family.
Friends and family.
Friends and family, our constituents that I've served for years. I feel very encouraged and heartened by the response we've had. We've raised more money than anyone else in this race. And the only way to win these races is really to have the resources to get your name out there, to get your message out there. Because we're confident that we have the right message, we have the right story. We would be the only Armenian in the assembly, but you need to have the resources to get there.
But is that enough to say, oh, I'm the only Armenian in the race? I think, don't you need more than that in order to get that message across, saying, hey, these are the issues that you care about, I'm going to represent you in the assembly.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to work for you, basically. I'm going to be your representative. You're going to hire me as your guy in the assembly and fight for you.
That's right. I think you're absolutely right. People want to vote for someone not because of what they are, but of who they are and how competent and how rational and pragmatic they are. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you're from, what community you're from. People want to see results. So I think you're right. It doesn't matter whether you're Armenian, non-Armenian. Armenian issues.
Because we have common issues.
Common issues.
Public safety, homelessness, housing prices. These are, doesn't matter whether you're Armenian or non-Armenian.
That's right.
It's the same issue. But obviously, on top of it, we have our own issues as Armenians. That's another thing that we have to consider, and you articulated that very well in our community. What are their people telling you as you go meet various peoples?
People have been very encouraging. People are very happy to see someone who is from the community,
Yes.
who has been here, but who also has a stake in that next generation, who's a father of young kids, who has worked in many different parts of the world, in many different sectors, and who has private and public sector experience. And I think that they are happy that I've thrown my hat in the ring and that we're being as serious about this race as we are, because most people don't know what the state assembly is. Most people don't know who their state assembly member is. I think people are very encouraging that we're in this race, and they've been very helpful.
John, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about your campaign and how you're going to win. Because at the end of the day, winning is what matters. So we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Seri paygamler gash satar mı bidanek ya bidi veratalak mer haydakrin. Seri paygamler այսօրվա մեր հյուրն է Ջոն Հարաբեդյանը, որ State Assembly ներկայացուցիչը պիտի ըլլա, ասենք, որտեղ հույս ունիք, որ պիտի ըլլա. John, before the break, we talked a little bit about your campaign, how the money you're raising. I'm going to ask you a very key question. How are you going to win? The key is winning. What's your strategy to win this race? Because winning is everything at the end of the day.
You don't run in these races to lose. So
Yes.
you want to do everything you can to win. I think winning in this race is, of course, above all else, be responsive to the constituents. Talk about the issues that everyone is concerned about. Be true to yourself and your ethics and your morals while doing that. And then, obviously, being able to raise the resources to talk to the voters. A campaign is nothing but just talking to people. You're talking to them through mail, you're talking to them at their door, you're calling them. And what we're doing now is we've built a team that is doing that as we speak. We're knocking on doors every day, we're sending out mail, we're calling people on their phones. And the key to victory here is really just to do that and do it in an articulate, genuine way so that people know that this is a person who's serious, this is a person who's going to represent us. And so the key to victory here is over these next 3 to 4 months, continue raising money. Continue getting support from the community, getting more volunteers to come out and help us knock on doors, coming to our campaign office, helping us make calls. And having that army and that grassroots coalition behind you is everything. And then two, just having me in the community, talking to people, letting them know what I'm doing, and we're doing all of that. And so really, the biggest help I can have from the community, from the viewers, look me up. Look me up online at my website. If you can give money, great, that's great. But also, if you can come and volunteer, help us knock on doors, talk to our neighbors, that's even better.
How much time there is till May? No.
March.
March is that's where, and that's the primary.
That's the primary.
And the final is in
November.
November. So okay, so you have a little bit of time, but not much, especially for the primaries.
It's coming up quickly.
Quickly, yes.
Before you know, with the holidays, we're going to be in January. Ballots come out in February. We have a couple months here, and we have some good momentum, but we're working hard. We're sprinting every day. We're trying to talk to as many voters as we can every day. And look, we have a great group of volunteers. If anyone's watching out there that wants to come and join us, I will give them my information. You have my card. We'll post it on the show. They should reach out, and I would love to sit down with them and talk to them personally about it.
Have you had debate at all with the other candidates or no?
Not yet.
No, this is not like presidential candidates that you have to have a debate.
I wish we did. You know, I think that would
I
be
mean,
a lot
there's
of fun.
no debate on issues.
We should have a debate here. If Verizon TV ever, if Mike, if you wanted to host one.
I'm debating you. I'm trying to do the other two
No,
guys'
that's right.
job.
No, and you're doing a great job. We haven't had a formal televised debate yet. I think that we will probably have debates closer to the election. And those would be a lot of fun.
Would you be able to really do a difference in people's lives if you're given the opportunity to be elected for this seat?
I think so. I think so, Mike. I think one individual can make huge differences.
That's what I'm saying. Can one individual in the assembly make a difference?
I think so. I think if you look at any organization, business, government, nonprofit, one individual can make a huge difference. They can make a huge difference by inspiring others to be better, They can make a huge difference by bringing better ideas. They can be a huge difference by bringing a track record of getting things done. And so I truly believe that I can get things done. I truly believe that I can make the institution better. I truly believe that I can help people in California live a little bit better life. And if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be running. Because I'll tell you what, this is too much of a sacrifice for anyone to do.
For your family, for your business.
For everyone.
I mean, to run for a position that doesn't pay that much either. You know?
That's right.
But
That's right. I think that you're not doing
public
it for the
service,
pay.
you're not going to make rich. You know?
No, you're not getting rich off of public service, as you shouldn't. And I think that belief that I can get things done, that belief that I can improve the quality of the lives for all Californians, but also that inspiration to actually do this on every day that I run this campaign. But if I am elected every day when I'm in office, I truly believe I can make a difference.
Do you have any relationship with any other official in the state government? Or
Yeah.
you have
do.
some relationships that, let's say, to get endorsement from them. That's
Yes.
the point I was trying to make.
You know, we're working on as many endorsements as we can. We have great endorsements from a lot of state assembly members, state senators, many local elected officials throughout the district have endorsed us. So we've built a lot of relationships over a number of years when I was mayor, when I was a council member, having been born and raised in this district. I think a lot of people see just how quality of a candidate we are. And I do think that I'm working every day to make sure that more and more people are surrounding us with their support. And, you know, we're having some good success. So I'm going to keep working
great.
at that.
That's great. What would you do if you're elected tomorrow, well, in November, when the final election, the general election? What would the first thing you would do?
I would declare a state of emergency on homelessness.
Okay.
I think homelessness
Is a big issue.
I think homelessness needs to be spoken about and talked about like it is. It's an emergency. If you look and see what we've done over the past 10 years to address it, it's not enough. If you and I went to Afghanistan or any war zone and we saw 100,000 people living in the desert with no running water, sleeping on the street, with no medical care, I would tell you the United States government within a year would make sure that everyone had a bed, everyone had medical treatment, everyone had running water.
So why are you not doing this thing in this country, in the state of California, one of the most prosperous, richest state in the union? Why we're not doing it? That's what surprises me.
Because I think we're letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. I think that we are treating this crisis like it is something that we have to long-term plan, while the short-term planning isn't being done. So
the mayor is working on it.
She's working hard now.
It's been a year, but I still see homeless people on the streets. It just hasn't been resolved.
Mike, it would be the equivalent, you know hospitals well.
Of
It'd be
course.
the equivalent of having a patient come into the hospital who needs immediate attention in the emergency room, and the response would be to go to the operating room and set up the operating room for hours and make sure that was perfect, while that patient is dying in the waiting room looking for a bed in the emergency room. We need emergency room response. We need triage. We need
Right.
people off the streets. We need temporary shelters.
Right.
We need medical professionals coming at a higher rate than they are to help these people. Right now, we're doing a housing first model. We're trying to build long-term solutions. We need that too. But the long-term
But
solutions...
you need an instant solution.
You need instant-
Because
you need
these people
instant
are on the
solutions.
streets, especially now the winter here.
I think that is the problem that you say, why haven't we been able to do it? I think we have been doing a bit of the long-term planning, a bit too much.
Which we need.
Which we need.
No question about it.
But this is something
This
that
is a more
needs immediate.
acute problem
It's
we
an acute
have.
problem, and so I think that we, as community members, need to figure out where can we put more beds, where can we put more mental health facilities for these people to be put into beds right away, and where can we put the housing, the long-term housing, to get people the support that they're going to need long-term, and every community throughout the state, throughout Southern California, needs to figure out how they can help. I think a lot of times people say this is a problem, but a lot of times they're not a lot of times they're not willing to do what they need to do in terms of solving the problem from their part.
Do we still have surplus in the state, or that surplus is gone?
Well, I think this next budget cycle with the economic downturn, I don't think we're going to have a surplus. I think we're going to have a deficit. And unfortunately, I think we're going to probably see a downturn that might look similar to 2008 and 2009. And I think if that's the case, we're going to have a lot of problems that are going to be exacerbated and even worse than they are now. And so I think we need people in government that actually know economics, they actually know how to balance a budget, and they know how to actually deliver government services in a time of economic downturn. It's easy to provide things when the economy is doing well.
Do we have a reserve that the state uses in economic downturns, or that reserve concept is gone, there's no money?
We have reserves, and we use reserves in times of economic downturn, yes, but it's not going to be enough. If we have a $30 billion single-year deficit, the question is, how do you long-term plan and continue to provide services with less revenue? We see income tax is having an effect on people. When capital gains go down, the state actually brings in a lot less revenue. And right now, a lot of the high-income earners in California are deciding to leave. So we are actually seeing a depletion of revenues on that side too. So I think that we need to figure out, without using reserves, how do we do long-term planning to sustain what we have here? And I think that's going to take some tax reform. I also think it's going to take some real ingenuity in terms of doing more with less. And I think every organization has to go through that, and government is no different.
So besides this, what else you would do in the assembly?
So homelessness is
Homelessness is a key issue.
very important.
Budget is, we discuss, what else issues you have?
I think it's helping working class, middle class families and everything that they need. Get them more access to healthcare, get them better public education for their kids, get them more affordable housing. Like I said before, we need to build more housing, but we also can convert the existing buildings that we have. We have many empty buildings that we can convert into housing.
Can the state take over these empty buildings and convert them into housing?
I mean, the crazy thing is, Mike, is that the state and local government own a lot of these buildings.
But they're not using it.
And they're not using them.
So it's a planning issue.
It is a planning issue.
How to plan it and implement it, basically.
That's right.
How would you do it differently?
What I would do is you start with the housing stock or the building stock that the state and local government currently owns. These are buildings that might be in commercial zones, manufacturing, industrial, and they're sitting empty or they're sitting underutilized. I would have an expedited process to actually repurpose those buildings, make them into residential, and actually
people can live in it.
So people can live there. And I think that this would help families. This would help our seniors. There's a lot of people on tight incomes that can't afford where they live right now. And I think that that would be a big help. And another thing that I'm going to be very interested on working on is infrastructure. Look at our water, look at our public transportation, look at our roads, look at our highways. We need people in there that are going to invest to make sure that California, over the next 50 years, 100 years, has the ability to continue to provide for their people. And I think we're going to need a lot of massive investments in water capture, making sure that our public transportation continues to be first rate, and getting people out of their cars so that the environment, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink is cleaner. We need more people taking public transportation. Right now, a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't feel safe. It's not connected enough. And so I think over the next 10, 20 years, a big thing that we all need to be focused on is how do we make California, like many of these other countries that you fly to, you don't need a car. You get out of the airport, you get on a subway, you get on a bus, very clean, very efficient. Right now, California doesn't have that. We're working there.
Always California and LA, it's always been, public transportation almost non-existent. I mean, it has a little bit. It's improved, but it's a car-based economy. I mean, ever since I was a kid.
That's right.
And I haven't seen that. I mean, you think you can make a difference? Can you, in the assembly, work with your colleagues and implement public transportation, mass public transportation that will take away the need for using a car, wherever you go to your office or to shopping, whatever you want to do? Is that possible?
It is possible, and the state is doing it right now. And what the state can do is allocate more funding, allocate more resources to actually building that public transportation in every city throughout the state, in every suburb, to make sure that we are connected. And the state is very influential in that. It's a $300 billion budget, the state of California. The amount of money that we put into public transportation every year is in the billions. As a leader in the state, I will continue to prioritize that because I do think that this is an equity issue. There's a lot of people that can't afford a car. There's a lot of people that can't afford gas right now. And it's not good for our environment. It's frankly not good to have a car-based economy when the air quality that we breathe is getting worse and not better. So it is incumbent on all of us as leaders to make sure that we're putting every investment that we can into building the public infrastructure, the transportation, the subways, the light rail, the bus lines that we need. And so, yeah, I do think that we can make a difference, and we need people that are focused on that.
Is your family supportive of you? Because that's going to take away from your wife, your kids.
Very.
Being in the assembly, in Sacramento, you're here, you're going to go back, travel back and forth. Because I have some friends who they constantly go back and forth. And I'm on the California Hospital Association board in Sacramento. I go there every 2 months. That's still big pressure on my family.
That's right.
Because I'm gone for 2 days, stay from my daughter, my wife. But how are you going to put that? Being in Sacramento, let's say.
Look, it's difficult. It is a sacrifice on anyone who's doing it, especially someone with a family with young kids. I'm lucky enough to have a wife who's extremely supportive. My wife and I met in public service.
Okay.
I was working for the mayor of Los Angeles. She was the legislative director for a council member in the city of Los Angeles. And she's still in public service. She works on public transportation issues.
Okay.
So we both are
So she understands the public service and the commitment it takes on the families.
She's committed to it herself. She understands it, and she knows that she believes in me. And I think that that is even more important. She's not only supportive, but she believes that I'm the right person for the job.
Well, we really wish you the best because we've known each other a long time. We talk on and off, but it's really nice to see more Armenian Americans to go into public service. As we discussed, Armenians in general don't like public service. They want to go into business, they want to be doctors, lawyers, and so forth and so on, engineers, but never politics, because for some reason, politics always been bad for Armenian Americans. But maybe that's going to change, because we don't have anybody in the assembly now. Adrian Nazarian was the last one, and he's turned out. And so we need more blood, new blood. And your ideas trying to put these things together is wonderful. I mean, I'm fascinated myself listening to your plans, and I want to wish you the best, and I want you succeed in this race. Obviously, people go into a race to win, and we want you to win.
Thank you, Mike.
Anything we can do, let us know. But our hope is, on behalf of our station and the Armenian community at large who are listening to us, we wish you well.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Սիրելի բարեկամներ, ասեվոգը պագեք մեր հայդակիրը, մենք կմաղթենք Ջանին հաջողություն State Assembly-ին, Sierra Madre Pasadena շրջանին եւ կմաղթենք ցեզի գիշեր բարի։